Ever wonder how scientific discoveries actually,
Yeah.
get out there? I mean, it's not like research is just like, show Eureka from a mountaintop and suddenly everyone knows.
Right. Right. It's definitely not that simple. There's this whole system, this whole world of academic publishing that most people don't even realize exists. And let me tell you, it can get pretty complicated.
And right now, it's getting shaken up big time.
Yeah.
Because there's this legal case, this lawsuit, that's raising some serious questions about who's really profiting off scientific knowledge.
Hey.
And you know what? It's probably not who you think.
Yeah. So traditionally, right, a scientist finishes a research project, they write up their findings all nice and neat in a paper, and then they submit it to an academic journal. Think of these journals as like the gatekeepers of science.
Okay, so far so good. But I'm guessing it's not as straightforward as just sending it off and hoping for the best, is it?
You're right. This is where that term peer review comes in. Ever heard of it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I hear it all the time, but honestly, I don't think I could really explain what it means.
It's actually really important. Basically, before a paper can get published, it gets sent out to other experts in that field, kind of like a fact check. And guess what? Most of the time, these reviewers, they're doing it for free out of, dedication to their field and all that.
Really? Wow, that's a pretty sweet deal for the journals. They're getting all this expert analysis basically for free.
Exactly. And that's a big part of what this lawsuit is all about.
Okay, well, let's talk about that lawsuit then. Who's suing who, and what are they fighting about?
So, this psychologist, Dr. Luca Adin, he's decided to take on some of the biggest names in academic publishing. We're talking Wiley, Springer, Taylor, and Francis. These are huge GE companies.
Oh yeah, I definitely recognize those names. Like, I'm pretty sure most of my college textbooks were published by one of those.
Exactly. So they're definitely a big deal. And Dr. Adin, he's claiming they're basically taking advantage of this whole system we've been talking about, making huge profits off of, well, basically free labor.
That's wild. Okay, so what's he actually accusing them of doing wrong? Break it down for us.
Sure. So the lawsuit has three main parts to it. First, he's saying that these publishers, they're all working together, colluding to make sure peer review stays free, like they're actively preventing any kind of payment for this essential service.
Oh, wow. So they're essentially price fixing on the backs of experts who are already working for free.
You got it. The second big accusation is about limiting where researchers can submit their papers. The lawsuit claims these publishers are basically controlling the whole playing field, which, if true, means less competition and could really slow down how fast new discoveries reach the public.
Wait, so instead of sharing, like, potentially life-saving research as quickly as possible, it gets stuck in this bureaucratic mess. That's kind of terrifying, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. And then the third point is about what's called open access.
Open access, like being able to read the research without hitting a paywall.
Exactly. See, a lot of times these publishers, they put limits on how researchers can share their findings, especially while the paper's still under review. It's like having all the answers to a test, but you're not allowed to share them with your classmates.
That seems kind of counterproductive, doesn't it? Especially when you think about how much of this research is funded by the public in the first place.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If we're the ones paying for the research, shouldn't we have faster access to the results? It really makes you think, who benefits most from the current system? The public, the scientists, or these big publishing companies?
Okay, so let's say Dr. Aiden actually wins this thing. What happens then?
Honestly, it could be huge. We could see research being published way faster, easier access to knowledge for everyone, maybe even more collaboration between scientists who can actually see what their peers are working on without jumping through hoops.
Wow, that sounds amazingly optimistic. But I know you're all about those nuanced takes, so there have to be some potential downsides too, right?
Of course. Change is never simple, right? I mean, even if they lose this lawsuit, these publishers might try to make up for it by increasing those already crazy high publication fees that researchers have to pay. That could really hurt, especially for scientists who don't have a ton of funding.
Right. So it's not like a light switch where everything suddenly gets better overnight. It's more like,
A ripple effect.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. A ripple effect where there are definitely some positive outcomes, but also some new challenges that pop up that we'll have to deal with.
Totally. And look, even if this lawsuit doesn't completely revolutionize the whole system, it's already gotten people talking. It's shining a light on something that desperately needed attention, which is a win in itself, don't you think?
Totally agree. So what can our listeners do? How can they, be a part of this conversation and maybe even help shape the future of how scientific knowledge is shared?
It's all about thinking critically. Next time you see a headline about some amazing scientific breakthrough, take a second. Who funded the research? Who published it? And how easy is it for you, the average person, to actually read that research yourself?
It's like that old saying, knowledge is power. But it's only powerful if you can access it. So listeners, I want you to get out there, stay informed, ask those tough questions, and who knows, maybe you'll even be a part of building a future where knowledge really is available to everyone. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.